Sure. Okay. Good afternoon. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Caldwell Hearing Examiner for Wednesday, January 11th, 2023, and it is 1:30 p.m. This is a public hearing. As a hearing examiner, I can hear quasi-judicial decisions concerning particular land use applications for the City of Caldwell. During this public hearing process, public oral testimony will be taken from those in attendance and who have signed the sign-up sheet to speak, which is available at the front of the room. When you testify, you must come to the podium. Please speak into the microphone and state your full name and address. All comments should be addressed to the hearing examiner and should be relevant to the application. Once the public hearing is open, we will first hear from staff, then the applicant or the applicant's representative, and they will have 10 minutes to speak. Public testimony will then be opened to anyone that has signed up to speak in favor, neutral, or in opposition of the application. This person will be limited to 3 minutes of testimony. Finally, the applicant or applicant's representative will then be permitted for a 5-minute rebuttal. After the rebuttal is given, the public hearing portion of the hearing will be closed and no new oral or written testimony will be allowed unless there's a vote to reopen the public hearing. We request that everyone treats all parties with fairness and respect. We are required by Idaho State Code to take written minutes of all of our public hearings. Therefore, please silence your cellular phones throughout the duration of the meeting. And with that, let's take a look at the agenda. Number 1 action item is to approve the November 30th, 2022 hearing examiner minutes, which have been signed. And we can open up to new business. This is action item, case number SUP 22-000028. Hatch Design Architecture is requesting approval of a special use permit for the construction of approximately 8.64 acres of a self-storage facility consisting of 13 structures to be constructed in 3 phases. The parcel is R308-670-1500 and is located on the west side of Midland Boulevard, approximately 2,000 feet south of Ustick and Midland Boulevard roundabout, Caldwell, Idaho. And the subject site is zoned C2 Community Commercial. If staff would like to present, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Examiner. Before you this afternoon is Adams Ridge, SUP 22-000028. The planner on this case is Alex Jones, and I'll be covering the presentation today. And I'm Elizabeth Allen, the senior planner. The property is located located on the west side of Midland Boulevard, approximately 3,000 feet north of the Cherry Lane and Midland Boulevard intersection. And the parcel is approximately 8.64 acres. Now, the applicant is requesting approval of a special use. Sorry, I was forgetting to change the slides. The applicant is requesting the approval of a special use permit to construct a self-storage facility on the parcel. They are proposing to construct the facility in 3 phases with a total of 11 buildings, 10 one-story buildings and 1 two-story. Parking, they are proposing 1 handicapped and 6 standard parking stalls, and then they're proposing sidewalk along Midland Boulevard. And this is a site plan for reference. And they're proposing to connect to city water and sewer in Adams Ridge subdivision, and that's located north of the subject property. So the subject property parcel is located a little bit to the south in that the bottom right corner. The property is zoned C2 Community Commercial. You have Nampa city limits to the south and east, and then the yellow zoning is R2, and the gray zoning is Community Commercial. The property is served by Caldwell Fire Department, Caldwell Police Department, and Pioneer Irrigation District. For the 2040 comprehensive plan, The future land use is commercial service and medium density residential, and the project aligns with one goal and 7 policies in the plan. For agency comments, Caldwell Fire Department provided conditions. Nampa Highway District responded with no concerns. Compass provided general comments, and Caldwell Engineering Department provided conditions. The city limits of Nampa are adjacent to the property, but in our notifications, they were not notified. They should have been notified, so we didn't receive comment from them. For staff recommendations, staff is recommending approval as provided in the findings of fact, conclusions of law and order, with the recommended conditions of approval. I'll go over the conditions. The first condition addresses fire department requirements. And then the second one is comply with Caldwell landscape ordinance. And then the third one covers engineering department requirements. And in the staff report, number 2 was talking about a development agreement, and that has been struck.
Okay. I did notice that the conditions of approval in the staff report are different than
matching.
Not matching.
Okay.
So that's fine. I just thought it was unusual to have a DA involved in this kind of application, so that's great.
So I don't know where the mix-up in his presentation isn't matching the conditions. So we'll ignore the ones in the PowerPoint.
Okay,
and I'll just address the ones in the staff report. So number 1 was just that the project would comply with city code. That second one was a development agreement. A development agreement doesn't apply to a special use permit. And then the number 3 addresses city of engineering requirements. Number 4 talks about dig lines. Number 5 requires them to comply with other agency requirements. Condition 6 would require them to align their development with a conceptual plan and elevations provided. And number 7 addresses any wetlands or other natural waterways to require approval from Army Corps of Engineers. And then 8 addresses fire department, and then number 9 covers stormwater.
And those are the conditions of approval you have?
Yes.
So the ones, okay, so just to clarify, the ones I have for signature, number 1, requirements of the fire department. Number 2, comply with Caldwell landscape ordinance, correct?
So what's the first one that you have on your staff report?
All requirements from the fire department for access, turnarounds.
Okay.
Emergency
So the staff, I'm not sure what's going on here, but the staff report that I have does not meet the conditions that in the staff report that you have.
Nor the findings that I need to sign. So I just want to make sure we have the correct conditions for the applicant and that we're not
right. No. Okay, sorry about that. So there were 2 staff reports. And in the one that I was provided this afternoon does not match the one that you were provided.
Okay.
But the staff report that we have that we brought with the file does match what yours has.
Okay, great. And I'll just follow up with the applicant just to make sure those are the conditions that they have on their report. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. No worries.
So the options the hearing examiner has today is to approve the special use permit with the conditions or modified conditions, or the hearing examiner may deny the special use permit, state the reason for denial, and direct staff to make findings of fact to support that decision.
Okay.
And I'll stand for any further questions.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I think my other following up question, it might be for Steve. Are we required by law, state code, to notify the city of Nampa?
Yes.
So, what should we do then?
So that, since that was an error on staff has made, I would recommend, to be compliant with state statute, that we would have to reschedule the hearing to provide the proper notification.
Do we want to open public testimony, since the applicant's here, and testify, and leave it open until our next hearing, till the city can? It's completely up to the applicant. If they're ready, sometime.
Madam Hearing Examiner, that would work. So we would just have to continue it and send that notification out.
Okay.
And give them the comment period.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to come up and speak on the application and everything? Thank you.
Get the clicker.
Okay, no problem.
Good afternoon, Jeff Hatch with Hatch Design Architecture. Our address is 200 West 36th Street, Boise, Idaho 83714. Good afternoon, hearing examiner. Dirty?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. It's tricky.
Thank you for your consideration of our special use application today. Subject property, as staff successfully and appropriately defined, is located just next to the Adam Ridge subdivision.
Okay.
And this was part of the master plan of the Adam Ridge subdivision. There was a special use permit that was approved with that subdivision for this intended use. That the duration of that approval was only 12 months, and with build out of the subdivision, that expired. So this is kind of a renew and a refresh to make sure that that use is relevant to today as it is currently proposed.
Okay.
As staff had mentioned, the subject site has, let's see, yeah, there we go. We have one large two-story building, and the intent was to make it feel like a kind of a commercial presence along the street on Midland. And so we're using what we would call a fortress-style design, screening the interior of the storage facility with more of a commercial presence along the street. And then following up with the staff, they had some modifications to the landscaping plan, which were addressed. And so we have our landscaping along Midland, as well as nice buffering for the residences. Here's an example of the floor plans for the two-story building, which we have the commercial component, the retail office on the corner visible from the street. And then the standard floor plans for the buildings themselves. And a couple of the renderings showing that even though it's a two-story building, we wanted it to feel like kind of a large commercial facility there. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. I did have a few questions. I guess the first question is, have you reviewed the conditions of approval, and are you in agreement with them?
We are in agreement with the conditions of approval that we received and are in our staff report.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to go line by line just to confirm that, but I think the primary thing that we all seem to be on the same page would be that this wouldn't require a DA.
Correct.
Because that would be probably a couple other hearings, even maybe involvement-wise. Yeah. The balance of the conditions of approval we're in agreement with.
I guess my other question is, it sounds like the old SUP had expired. Is the site plan similar to what was originally approved, or is this were drastic changes made to it, or is this very similar?
The use is the same. The intent as far as the market justified a two-story facility,
Mm-hmm.
which is new to Caldwell. And then as far as the expectation that we've recently gotten from the city of Caldwell as far as the aesthetic appeal that both the owner wants and the city, so we wanted something that was less industrial, more commercial presence along the street. Beyond that, it's essentially the same.
And phasing, you said it's going to be done in 3 phases. It looks like in a couple-year period. Do you have a breakdown for each phase? It just kind of gave a general timeline.
That's a great question for the owner's actually here, so he could probably respond to that more accurately.
Sure. That sounds great. And then I was curious on phase 3. It looked like you had a more open, like, staging area for parking and access to phase 3. Is that going to be, I saw that lateral was there, it was open. Is that going to be via a crossing, or what's your plan there?
Great question. So when phase 3 transpires, we will have to put in not one, but 2 culvert bridges.
Okay.
One that would be more kind of centrally located. Let's see.
Oh, your pointer's not working. Oh, there's, oh. It went missing.
Approach.
Yeah.
So we have 2, one just above where it says middle lateral.
Okay.
Kind of shaded on.
Oh, okay.
So if you wouldn't mind kind of repeating it? when-
Yeah.
And then the other one is on the very south. Yeah, so that would be the primary. And here? That is a potential secondary if needed, but for now, based on the square footage, we would propose it with the one half.
Yeah. Could you maybe just
Yeah.
paraphrase that
So
quickly?
for phase 3, we'll need to put in a culvert bridge for fire engine and vehicular access to phase 3, which is located central to the site on the northeastern, essentially the north middle portion of it'd be the western side of the property. And then if needed, there's an opportunity for a secondary access to the south. But at this time, the proposed square footage would just justify the requirement of just one access bridge.
Okay. And what is the parking going to be? Is that just kind of open parking for like RVs, or is this going to be a parking lot? It just didn't really explain.
Yeah, so currently we have 2 canopies back there, which are slightly taller structures in order to, again, create that fortress screening effect.
Okay.
And then inside of that, we currently are proposing open parking, which would be for larger odd-shaped vehicles.
Okay.
It is slated over time to be an opportunity to build out physical structures, but for the time being, to make sure that we have kind of a wide range of market need, that is just proposed as open parking.
Another follow-up question I had is office and employees. So one of the conditions, it looks like it's condition number 7, no clients shall be admitted after 8 p.m. on the property, should be cleared by people by 9 p.m. Operating hours are from 7 to 8. Is that a condition that you're in agreement with? It's going to be regulated to those times?
Yeah, I don't have any concern.
Is that something for the applicant, or is it going to be open 24/7, or is that?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the operations of the facility would be proposed at 24 hours. The operations of the office business hours would be
Okay.
what that is slated for.
Okay. And then my final question is, I see that you guys are proposing open style, open rod fencing. What are you guys proposing for security?
So the buildings themselves create a perimeter fence
Okay.
for the actual property, so it serves as the property fence, and then the wrought iron would be an additional security to finish that fortification.
Okay, that sounds great. I think that's all the questions I have at the moment.
And then 2 comments for consideration, and it may be a question for staff. It's a formality that we notify NAMPA if it's possible to deliberate a decision today with the condition of NAPA's feedback. Don't know if that's possible.
Madam Hearing Examiner, so based on state statute, we're required to notify other agencies before the hearing.
Oh,
So they have the opportunity to provide comment before it goes to hearing.
okay.
So unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to condition it to get their,
We're gonna have to come back.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I will now open the public testimony period, and it looks like first one on my list is Patrick Connor. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Connor. Address is 701 South Allen Street, Meridian, Idaho. Good afternoon. Thank you. I think Jeff did a great job explaining everything, as well as staff. I just had a couple things just want to touch on or discuss. I was not listening very closely, so I understand that we need to notify NAMPA. Can you explain a little bit why, just so I can understand a little bit more?
Madam Hearing Examiner, in state statute, agencies are required, or municipalities are required to notify property owners of 300 feet and any adjacent municipalities or jurisdictions. Since City of Nampa is adjacent on the east and on the south, we're required to notify the city.
Okay, thank you. So to answer the first question that came up about the phasing, so we currently have design in those 3 phases. So the first one being the 2-story conditioned space. So that naturally makes sense because that's where the utilities will come in from the north. And the second phase will be directly behind it, and the third will be across lateral. And like Jeff explained, that will be more for like boats and trailers and campers and kind of open air storage. So given the phasing, I guess maybe I can get some clarification. If we decide we want to bring on phase 3, maybe before phase 2, or maybe bring everything on at once, or change the phasing lines, do we have flexibility within this special use permit to do that?
Mr. Connor, that's a great question. I don't know if they would need to do a modification to their phasing plan.
So I'm not sure I understood the question. Are you wanting to
I just-
revise what you've proposed?
I just want to know if there's any flexibility to revise it. At this current point, we don't have intent to revise it, but if we wanted to, what is the process to do that?
So depending on how much it changes, it would need to come back for a modification.
Okay.
Is that just at the administrative level, or is that a public hearing?
I'll have to double check code.
Okay,
Let me look into that and I can get back to that.
that sounds great.
Yeah, that'd be good to know, because I know for kind of like a subdivision phasing, it's pretty strict and it needs to come back publicly, but this is just a kind of commercial permit. That'd be good to know. We answered the question on security, and then the operating hours. Yeah, my understanding was that this would be open 24 hours a day to folks to come and visit their units, but that the actual like operating hours of the retail corner, the small office, we're good with the parameters of those hours, so we can stay in compliance with that. I believe that touches the issues that came up today. I guess just more clarification. So once NAMPA is notified about this SUP application, will we need to do the entire thing today, or is it just it stays open testimony and then the decision's made after the fact, or?
So testimony would have to stay open.
So, can we talk about the noticing? So we have to notice NAMPA, and how long we have to give them an X amount of time to review and comment back, I'm assuming?
15 days.
15 days, okay. And then once the 15 days has eclipsed, then they can be put back on the agenda, or can we give them a date now?
We could probably give them, I can't, not at this moment, but
Okay.
we could get a date
Okay,
established.
and they'll
yeah.
just be an old business item?
Yep.
Okay.
But it would stay on new business.
Okay, okay.
And then I guess I just had one final question, clarification. So the 12-month window of getting the building permit application submitted, is that a code rule? Or is that just a site-specific condition of approval?
That should be code, and that might be something that we can talk about outside of the hearing.
Okay. Because while I stand here and I think we'll be able to do that, and that's within our plan, you know, the market could change or shift. And I think initially when we got the SUP as far as the preliminary plat application, we had it 12 months from there, and we started the project on the far west side and moved over. So it was never really going to be feasible to do it within that 12 months. So it'd be good to have some understanding of the flexibility there, or maybe we can apply for an extension. It'd be good to understand that within the SUP.
Okay. So you can get only one administrative extension, and that would be granted by the planning and zoning director. And that would only allow an additional 6 months.
Okay.
So that's where we would be limited on
Okay.
the special use permit.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Jeff, would you like to come back up for your rebuttal?
Madam Hearing Examiner and staff, thank you again for hearing our presentation today. I appreciate your time and consideration. I know on previous subdivisions, we can request anticipated timeline for a phasing plan. So I guess that would be a question that we could probably discuss with staff over the next month while we wait on that hearing, but the consideration of a condition of approval of that projected timeline, which may, you know, elongate that, but provides a more accurate phasing based on what they anticipate. So beyond that, I stand for any questions, but really appreciate your time.
Great. I don't think I have any questions at the time. I do have a question for staff. I am kind of worried about condition number 7. It says no clients shall be admitted after 8 p.m. and the property shall be cleared of people by 9 p.m. And that to me is not telling me it's open 24/7. I don't know if we want to have specific for the office, business hours for the office, and then note that it's accessible to the clients 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to rework that condition.
Okay, so you're saying, do you want to strike that altogether, or?
I think so, yeah. And then maybe after the hearing's done, we can work with the client to make sure that these are the right conditions that they have that match up, so.
And we can, so we can work with the applicant between now and then to come up with revised conditions of approval.
Okay.
So there'd be the two different.
That sounds great. Okay. So I've never continued a hearing before, so what is my next step? I can't close it. It has to remain open, so we're just gonna, to a date certain.
Okay, so what staff is recommending is to close the public testimony part,
Okay,
and then we would reopen it at that next one,
okay.
but then continue the hearing to, I'm gonna see if we can get a hearing date for you.
Okay.
Madam Hearing Examiner, was there one that you weren't gonna be able to make
The
coming up?
22nd of February. But I don't know if it has to be on the 22nd. Can we have it the week before?
I think we could do, would February 15th work for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would that be okay with the applicant? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so with that, I will close the public testimony, but we will table the meeting to February 15th for continuance for the city of Nampa to review and comment. So, thank you. Do you need me to do anything else? That's it? Okay.